Hey guys, it's Chase again, and this video I just wanted to do my 2016-2017 Premier League predictions. Yes, I'm going to jump in and be a fool just like everyone else and hope that I can predict the Premier League, which we all know is pretty foolish because of last year, and it was a great example. Leicester City, Bournemouth, uh, Chelsea falling off the map almost entirely. So we all know how foolhardy this task is, but we all think we're expert predictors, and it's intriguing and exciting. And as the season is only a couple days away as we speak, this is Thursday night. We start the action early Saturday morning with Hull and Leicester. I'm going to do this video, which is just going to predict the table, and then I want to try to do every week. I'm going to try to pick the matches before they happen, along with some little bit of analysis or kind of a preview of each week, and then maybe after on Sunday night after the matches happen, maybe a little bit of a recap or thoughts about what happened or how things went throughout the weekend. So we're gonna mix and match and see what we can do. I also wanted to do a championship preview as well, maybe a prediction table. I know it's one weekend. We've already played a few matches, and we're going to have another one tomorrow. I think it's Brighton and Hove. I can't remember who they play now. Brighton and Hove play tomorrow. There's a game tomorrow, and I can't remember who they play. But we already one weekend, so maybe it's a little easier to look at the table. But you would think, Newcastle lost to Fulham. Maybe it's going to be a little harder to guess now because we all still pick, I think, Newcastle to go straight back up, probably win the league. But after that opening loss to Fulham, you might be second guessing that pick. It's only one game, still a lot left to go. So let's get right to the table now. I'm going to go into maybe a few of the teams, a lot more descriptive than some. Some I don't have a whole lot to say. I think the table is very fluid. Picking a table and predicting a table is probably one of the stupidest things you can do because who's going to get all these spots right? I mean, these guys are going to move up and down throughout the season, and there's no way you can get all 20 spots correct. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever done it, truthfully done it. So it's something that remains to be a scientific venture because it's just so difficult because there's so many factors that go into each season. So all right, let's just go and start it off. We'll start off at 20th and go to the top. So we start with 20th, 19th, and 18th. We start with the relegation spots. And I hate to say it, but I really do think that this one's easy. 20 is easy because of the things that have happened over the off season, and that'll be Hull City. Hull City, just a disastrous offseason since winning the Wembley final over Sheffield Wednesday. I think we all wish that Sheffield or Brighton and Hove had actually been promoted rather than Hull. Hull obviously deserved it. They won the playoff and won won the final. But it might give more thought to let's change the way the playoff works because Brighton and Hove lost a spot in the Premier League on goal differential. That is ridiculous to me. That is absolutely ridiculous to me that they would lose out on the Premier League because of a goal differential with Middlesbrough. That should not happen. It should not happen. I don't care what you say. It's hard because the playoff is set. Every year we know we're going to do a playoff. It's going to be 4 teams, 2 legs in the semifinal, and then have the final at Wembley. I understand that's the way it goes, but goal differential should not decide whether a team should go to the Premier League. It just shouldn't. So we all might be second guessing that, but Hull, nobody brought in. Steve Bruce is gone. He's left now. Just a few weeks left before the start of the season. Left. I think the only silver lining that might happen is the ownership situation gets figured out. I doubt that happens before the transfer window closes at the end of August. But even then, even if they were able to get that figured out, the only way they could do anything is if they wait till the January transfer window and then spend money. And we know how competitive the transfer window in January is. Everybody's going to be wanting to go out and get somebody either to chase the title, survive relegation, chase Champions League spots or Europa League spots. So everybody is going to be in on the mix. It's not just Hull, So where this transfer window during the summer might be a little less competitive, and you might be able to go out and get some pieces. They haven't done anything. So that also banks on the fact that they could stay afloat before the transfer window in January. I don't see that happening. Their schedule is already difficult as it is, and Hull might rival Derby's season. And we all know what happened with Derby a few years ago. That was an awful, awful season. They might get more points than Derby in that season, but this is a bad, bad team, and I hate to say it, I hate to pile on Hull fans. I would love for them to go out there and prove me wrong, completely prove me wrong and prove everyone wrong, and just win a couple games that you just never thought they would. And they might be able to sneak a few past a side that is unexpectedly, not thinking, they go up to Hull and play them, and they might have a bad night, and Hull might be able to come up with a couple of wins just based on everybody underestimating them. I hope that happens. I don't think that's going to be the case. Hull goes down. I don't think I've heard anybody not put Hull in 20th, because it just seems so locked in. The other two spots, 19th and 18th, a little more fluid, a little more difference of opinion. Hull looks pretty locked in, like I said, but I am going to go with a team that, honestly, at the beginning of the transfer window and after last season, I would have told you they might be moving in the right direction. They might be moving in the right direction, moving up the table, but based on the departures they've had and the unactive offseason, they've brought in a couple of guys. Unactive offseason, I just have a feeling that this team is going to have a difficult season this year, and you might think, okay, maybe that's not a team I would put down in the relegation spot or even in 19th. But I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put Swansea in 19th. I think Swansea go down. I think the departures of Pulaski, Ayew, and Gomis are big. I mean, they're all strikers. I understand that. But I can't remember who they brought in. I know they brought in somebody from, I think it's from La Liga to be their striker. But I think those departures in this team, I think it's just too much to over. I don't know where the goals come from, I think is what I'm trying to say. Where do the goals come from? How are they going to stay competitive in a bunch of different teams that are going to be fighting down there? I look at them as a team that really could struggle. So it's a pick that I wouldn't have made at the beginning of the transfer window or the beginning of the beginning of the off season. But as I've thought about it more and more, I think it's a team that's just ripe for this to happen to. I think a lot of people picked them for last season to go down, and they actually finished very much higher than I think a lot of people expected. They had actually had a good run at the end of the season, but losing these pieces and just a combination of really not doing a whole lot in the off season or during the transfer window to improve the team, I think is going to lead to Swansea falling down the table. And 19th might be harsh. They might finish 18th, but I think they'll be relegated. And it's something that I've debated because there's other teams that I really think could be relegated as well. But I think I have a feeling about a team like that, and I think you have to be like that. We're all in the business of, okay, let's look at the three newly promoted teams, and let's just put them down. That doesn't work like that. We saw last year Bournemouth and Watford stay up, Norwich City go down. Who would have expected that? I think you would have said Norwich, who probably is one of the better championship sides, would have stayed up based on their performance in the playoff and just how they play. And they actually started off the season okay. Watford probably stronger at the beginning of the season, tailed off at the end. Bournemouth, tough start to the season, had some few runs here and there. They're opportunistic, got the points when they needed to. Norwich actually fall off at the end and get relegated, but they very could have easily had a few things gone right for them, been there instead of Sunderland. So you look at Swansea and now Watford. That's kind of juggling in my mind as teams that I might look at to go down. But I would actually go with Burnley in 18th. Get it up here. Burnley, 18th, going down. I don't know a whole lot about Burnley. I've kind of heard other guys talk about them. Andre Gray voted Championship Player of the Year last year. I just think that a small club like that is going to struggle. I know I hate to say that against small clubs because Bournemouth are my favorite team, and I like to support small clubs. But I just think the combination of Sean Dyche, I've been hearing, is a very good manager. And I think that the lack of goals. I think Swansea, it's a familiar pattern that you're going to have down in the relegation zone, is you don't have proven scorers, you don't have people who can put the ball in the back of the net. Obviously, that's the name of the game, and you don't have enough of that happening. I think that's why Watford could be another instance or another team that could go down, because everything depends on Ighalo and Deeney. If those two don't click, Watford are in some real trouble because there's nobody else scoring. So when you have so much power concentrated in one or two guys, Andre Gray in Burnley's case, I don't know, maybe somebody else could comment below or talk to me about who else could score some of those goals. Who could score goals for Burnley? Burnley going up against the likes of Manchester City, Manchester United. These clubs are huge, and they're gonna, Burnley, obviously, it reminds me of Bournemouth last year, and they even had their own big wins against Chelsea and Man United and Southampton, wins that at the beginning of the season you would have said, I don't think they're going to win a lot of those games. I think they're going to lose almost all of them. So maybe Burnley has a few of those in their bag. I don't think so though. I think they might be able to sneak a few by, and I think they're going to be the best out of the three relegated sides. That's why I put them in 18th. But maybe not enough to get out of the relegation zone. And I think that's why I have them in 18th. Then we just discussed it. Watford in 17th. Deeney and Ighalo is where everything starts and stops. That is going to be really important. We saw last year Watford was actually very good at the beginning of the season and through the middle part of the season. Okay, it's like Watford may be a team that could break into the top 10. Wow. Didn't expect that. I think a lot of people had to actually pick them to be relegated. But we saw after teams started adjusting to Deeney and Ighalo, they started to fade off a little bit. And it got to the point where Watford really were on some bad times and a bad run. They had a couple of good results at the end. But I could see where they would struggle. If teams can play them well and shut them down, they're just so in this case two-dimensional, that if you can limit their potency, you have a real chance at limiting their damage, and maybe Watford could be in some real problems. So again, you see a familiar pattern with teams down that I've listed, teams that could run into problems if their very limited attacks are shut down. And I think that's why I'm starting to see, like I said, a familiar pattern with the teams down below, and I think Watford could be another case of that. Also, a change at the of manager as well, I think, is something that could be very could disturb the rhythm of the club. Very surprised, Kike Hernandez. I mean, why was he? Or was it Sanchez? I'm sorry, Sanchez. Kike Sanchez. Why was he taken out? It's Watford, I guess, and I've heard is a club that likes to go through their managers, like to have like a turnstile of managers, have a revolving door. So why is that? Something I would like to know more about, but that could be something that could also hurt the club going forward. So Watford for 17th. A lot of people want to put West Brom in the relegation zone too. I put them in 16th. Their style of football is pretty. It's not exciting. I think people tell you most boring team in the Premier League is West Brom. Tony Pulis' side, very defensive-oriented, defensive-minded. They're not going to score a lot of goals. But what they do is they frustrate teams. They play gritty. They're more physical. They shut down teams. They don't let a lot of goals in, which gives them the opportunity to draw or sneak one past the other team and have those 1-0 wins or those 2-1 wins. They have Rondon. I think they just lost Berahino too. I think they tried to get Sacco, I think, from West Ham, couldn't get him. So it's really just Rondon. You're gonna shoot. You're gonna lob balls up to Rondon right up front and hope that he can come away with 15, 20 goals. So I could see where people put West Brom in some trouble, and I could see them being a team. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these teams, you could switch them out pretty easily. I think West Brom could get into trouble, and the new owners, I think it's new Chinese owners, if I'm not mistaken. They might look at West Brom. They might be looking at Pulis and be like, we don't want to watch this anymore. We don't want to watch this brand of football. We want to have exciting football. We want our fans to be excited to come to the Hawthorns and watch West Brom. Instead of like, oh wow, this team, yeah, we stay up every year, but we're so irrelevant and nobody cares about us. Why even be up if if you're not going to have anything exciting to watch? And I think West Brom is a classic case of that. So that's going to be. I think people have already predetermined Pulis might be one of the first managers to be fired early on. Could happen, and if that happens, that is going to be huge because what Pulis brings is the style of play that they go with, and that's what his team has been crafted around, is playing a defensive style of football. So if you bring in somebody else, I'm guessing they would just have a caretaker manager and keep going kind of the way they do, and then just maybe call the season a lost season. But you had to get Pulis out of there. I mean, I think that'd be dangerous if you fire him, because with him is the style of football that they play. Then you fire him, it's an identity crisis, and then West Brom could actually really possibly go down. So that might actually hurt them. If you just want to stick it out for one more season and stay up one more time, have Pulis keep you up for one more time, and then decide, okay, we're gonna go in a different direction next season, and then fire him in the offseason. I just think it would be very dangerous unless they were just terrible right off the bat. I think West Brom probably stay even keeled, stay afloat, 15, 16 for a while. And I would just say stay with that. Just stick with that until the end of the season. Why do something major like that and dangerous like that in the middle of the course of a season? I think that would be a problem. Another team that honestly I actually had them on my relegation zone early on in the transfer window. Now with David Moyes involved, Sam Allardyce actually departed. Sunderland, I think 15th seems okay to me. It's amazing this team is continuing to survive year after year after year. And now I have them all up to 15th, where I had them like bottom of the table, not past Hull, but 19th or 18th. Now they're up to 15th on my predicted table. They just made a couple signings too. I think Paddy McNair, and then they made in a couple signings from Manchester United today. And then Jermaine Defoe, still getting it done. I mean, he's still getting it done, still scoring goals. David Moyes, good manager. Sunderland, I think, survives, and I think they finish 15th. I think maybe even comfortably. This is a team that when they want to play well, or they want to have the desired motivation, you saw what happened. If they have the desperation, they can make things happen and they can play really, really well. That's what happened at the end of last year when they were desperate because they had to reel off a few wins, get some points before they got relegated. If they can come out and play well, this team, is not bad, not a bad team. And I see them finishing middle of the bottom half at 15th. Middlesbrough, I'll have now at 14th. Let's see that. Middlesbrough, maybe a team that I was a little more hesitant to put up as high early on, but because of the signings that they made, and I always thought, even Burnley winning the championship, I thought out of the three sides of Hull, Burnley, and Borough, I thought Borough would be the only one to survive. I didn't think that they'd be finishing at 14th because of the signings that they've made, because of the manager, I just think this team is going to be the sleeper. And maybe they're not even a sleeper, because I think a lot of people are actually kind of in the same boat as I am and pushing them a little further up the table than just having them barely survive. 14th, I think, is a very good first season in the Premier League. It's something I think they'd be overachieving. Some people even have them further up the table than this. I don't know if I'd go that far in their first season back, but because of the signings that they've made, I feel very confident in this pick. And I think Borough is going to be a team that you're not going to want to face. Even if you're a bigger club, you're going to have some tough times against them throughout the course of the season. So Borough 14th, I feel good about. 13th, I'm going to go with very own AFC Bournemouth, AFCB. It's funny because I really thought a lot of people were going to be hesitant to put Bournemouth further up the table, but now more that I keep hearing about it, keep reading about people's picks, they're putting them up high, and I think even people have put them up to 12th. I think 13th is legitimate. I think that's where they could stay. 13th, 14th seems right to me. I think, personally, as a fan, I would love to see them anywhere from 11th to 15th. I think that's a step in the right direction. They finished 16th last year after a really difficult end to the season. We all knew it was going to be hard to begin with. That's why they got the points when they needed to. They had the couple of spells, the one around Christmas and the in the Boxing Day in December, and then they have the one I think later in March, if I'm not mistaken, where they beat teams like Southampton, Newcastle, Villa. They got the points when they needed to. They were opportunistic last year, and got some big wins when you really didn't think they would. I mean, Southampton at home, West Ham at Upton Park. Where that was early in the season, so I think if they would have played West Ham and Upton Park at the end of the season, things would have gone a little differently. Then Stamford Bridge, Chelsea win. I mean, that was the last game Jose Mourinho managed before he got axed. 1-0 win at Stamford Bridge will always be one of Bournemouth's biggest wins, maybe their biggest win ever. And then Manchester United at home, 2-1, great game to watch. Glad that happened as well. So you had some wins that maybe, looking back, you might think, okay, Bournemouth probably wouldn't win those games 9 times out of 10, but you took them. I think this year they're ready to step forward into a more where, okay, I think maybe they can win some of these games. They pick up Jordan Ibe. They pick up Lise Mousset from Le Havre, the lower tier side of League One, the French league. They pick up a couple other guys, Nathan Ake on loan from Chelsea, and gosh, I'm trying to remember the pickups now. Emerson Hinman, an American, like a young American kid from Fulham. So there's been some younger picks, and also Lewis Cook. Sorry, probably one of the bigger ones, Lewis Cook. So with Cook and Ibe, along with Mousset, I think this team is going to have a lot more attacking pieces up front, and not going to have any problem scoring goals. Didn't have any problem with that last year, but I think they're going to be even more attacking minded this year and score a lot more goals this year. Main concern with Bournemouth, and that's why I think I like 13th, but they could fluctuate down to like 15th, 16th, is that they give up a lot of goals. They give up a lot of goals. They gave up more goals than Newcastle, more than Norwich. The only team that didn't give up more goals than them, Villa. And Villa went down. So they scored enough to survive last year. There hasn't been any improvement. I know we still have the rest of the transfer window to go, and I'm hoping if they don't make any moves here, they'll make some moves in January, and that's to shore up the back line. There's been some problems there. They got rid of Elphick. He's gone now. I didn't think he was Premier League standard anyway, but there's some problems. They were linked with Johnny Evans. They were linked with a couple of different guys. Nothing's happened. So I could see big clubs like Man City, Chelsea, Tottenham, Manchester United having their day with him once again this year. I think the only thing that maybe they might be able to counter with is if they are more attacking, if they can score on demand and have those wild shootouts, have 2 or 3, 4 goal games. That's the only thing I can think they could possibly counter them with. But the clubs that they'll be facing down at the bottom, that's why I think they'll stay up, is I think they'll be able to dominate the Hulls and the Burnleys and maybe Swansea, Palaces, all those kind of clubs. They might be able to beat those teams on a regular basis, score the goals that they need to, and stay up. I think that's where Bournemouth is. Backline and defense still a bit of a question with Bournemouth, but I feel comfortable with 13th, 14th seems to me to be right for Bournemouth. Moving on now, Crystal Palace. Now, a team I was a little more hesitant to put up this high, but I feel like this team is going to turn it around. I think last year was kind of a fluke. They had a great start to the season, first half of the season, then kind of faded off. Really faded off badly. They had the FA Cup run, which almost in a way almost dismantled their whole season because they kind of more focused on that than their league games. But Palace had a lot more in mind going forward last year. They had better goals. They wanted top 10 for sure, and they were thinking about Europa League, and then things did not go the way they needed to for them. I think they turned it around this year. I like Andros Townsend. I like James Tompkins. I already like Wilfried Zaha. I like this team, and I think they're a gritty team. I like Selhurst Park. It's a great place to play. A great home field advantage for them. I think Palace turn it around. They stick around the fringes of the top 10. I like Palace in 12. Now this is a team that I think I was thinking this already, but I wanted to confirm it. They might drop further down than this, and I think people would be hesitant to do that. But I think Southampton, 11th, might be a little more generous than I was willing to give. I think with the departures of Wanyama, Pella, and Mane, and their manager Ronald Koeman, that's a lot to take And everybody keeps saying, well, every season, even though all these people leave, all these players leave, they finish better than the year before. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think they drop out of the top 10 down to 11th, maybe further than that. Maybe not further than like 12th or 13th, but this team is going to take a step backwards. They're not going to be relegation fodder or anything like that. Still a very talented team. So a lot of players there. Virgil van Dijk, Shane Long. I like this team. Fraser Forster. This is a good team. Still a very good team. That's amazing. That's how talented this club is. And, you would think, okay, God, if Koeman would have stuck around, all these players would have stuck around. This team could have been somebody who could jump into that top 5 or top 6 and start battling with the Man Cities and the Manchester Uniteds at maybe looking for a title run. But now with those departures, Southampton almost like, let's reset again, and let's figure out how to way we can stay around in the top 10, in the fringes of the top 10, or like 7th or 8th. But I do think this is going to be a step backwards for them, and maybe it might start to give them more of an inspiration of like, we need to lock down a manager and players that can stick around for a few years, so this club can have a little bit of consistency before they just jump over and go somewhere else. And I think that's kind of the case with Southampton. That's why I put them to 11th. Everton, I think they will improve from last year. Last year, a side that gave up so many points from being ahead. One of my favorite games, obviously, for a Bournemouth fan was the 3-3 draw we had with them at Dean Court. That's a perfect example of how last year went for Everton, a club that should have gotten a lot more points and should have done a lot better than they did. But, they were just... I don't know. They're leaky defense. Amazing too. Is John Stones just got what, $40-something million or £40 million? That's crazy. And Man City goes and picks him up. But it's like even he didn't play that well. I mean, a lot of these players just didn't play well last year, and still offensive minded. They scored a lot of goals, but gave up a lot of goals too. And I think a club that drastically underperformed. And I think Martinez maybe didn't have the right formula for them. I think Koeman's a great coach to bring in, or a great manager to bring in for them. I think he might be the secret to their success. But he's also said that he only wants to stick around for 2 or 3 years before going somewhere else bigger. So maybe the success is short-lived, and Koeman can get them back into the top 10. I have them at 10th. So Everton finished 10th. Stoke is kind of a hard one to pick out. I like some of the guys that they've brought in. I like Joe Allen coming from Liverpool. I like Mark Hughes as a manager. This is a team that had some really good wins last year. I remember a 4-3 win over Everton early on in the season. It's kind of like a wild shootout, really good game to watch. But Stoke, God, it's hard to pin them down sometimes. I could have them as low as 13th, 14th. I could have them as high as 7th or 8th. 9th seems right to me, somewhere in the middle. Until they find some consistency, successful consistency. They have Shaqiri, they have Arnautovic, they bring in Joe Allen. I can't remember who else they brought in. They brought in a few other guys, but it's a team that really could be better if they just tried. If they could find a modicum of success and consistency on a regular basis. But I like Stoke in 9th. Okay, Leicester time. Leicester in 8th. I'm one of those who say Leicester take a step back. I think it's only natural. You have such an amazing run after surviving relegation the year before, have such an amazing run to win the Premier League title. I think you take a step backwards. You don't have that hunger anymore. Obviously, we all want to win the Premier League title every year, but after you win it, isn't it? It's like Chelsea. Mourinho lost his team after they won the Premier League title. Where's the hunger? Where's the drive? We did what we needed to do, right? We got to the promised land. What else is there to do? What else is there to achieve? So when you go through the rigors of a training camp in the off season, and then go back and near the start of the season, you're like, okay, why are we doing this now? Like, where's the motivation? Where's the desire? And I think that's where he lost his club. And I think maybe not. Okay, Mourinho is going to be a little different than Ranieri in a management style, managing style. But I still think everybody keeps pointing to Conte. I don't think Conte is such a huge loss. I think he's a he brings the energy to the midfield style that he brings to the team. But I just think that I think it's more of like going to be a mental thing for Leicester this year than actually, okay, we don't have the players that we need. They still have Mahrez, they still have Vardy, they still have everybody basically intact from last year, other than Conte. And that's actually, that's a testament to Leicester being able to keep these players around. Because you lose Vardy or you lose Mahrez, maybe you finish outside the top 10. Maybe you finish 10th or outside the top 10 if you lose one of those guys. But keeping them both maybe keeps Leicester in the conversation for Champions League spots, for Europa League spots. And I think maybe they could possibly get there. But 8th sounds right to me. They take a step backwards. I think there is 7 better clubs than they are next or this upcoming season. West Ham, 7th. That's bad. I think West Ham do finish 7th. I like this club a lot. I want to put them further up. There's like so many other clubs that to me are better than them. Olympic Stadium. That's going to be. I think everybody's bringing this up. It's hard to pin down like how a new stadium changes the way a team plays, but it could, and it could affect them early out of the gate. So maybe you see West Ham struggle out of the gate, but then I think they catch on and they get comfortable. After you play there enough times, I think you start to get comfortable wherever you play. Remember, at the end of the day, there's 2 goals at the end of the pitch. You got everything's, it is what it is. You're gonna play the way you're gonna play, despite anywhere you are. It's like going on the road. Maybe it'll be like going on the road early for them, and then they'll get their bearings and then move on from there. I like West Ham there. I'm not going to say a whole lot more about them. I mean, Dimitri Payet, Andy Carroll going to be big about how he stays healthy. I think he should have been on the English team. I think everybody makes fun of that notion or whatever. I think he gets on the English team. You feed balls into him. Such a big presence in the box. Beautiful. I just think he is a dynamic force for them. Somebody that I think they'd be drastically different without him. Payet, he has the free kicks, but I think he's such a big part of that team, and a lot of what our success is going to be dependent on how healthy he stays. Moving on now, Liverpool. I wanted to put Liverpool higher. I think the signings that they did make, they also gave up a lot of youth. They gave up Jordan Ibe, Brad Smith. I think they were probably going to get rid of anyway, or they weren't going to do much with anyway. They both have buyback clauses anyway, so if they do well in Bournemouth, they can come back. So they got rid of those guys. They brought in Mane. I like Mane a lot. He did really well with Southampton. I think that adds a lot more to that team. I think that's why they finished up 6th. There's possibility for me though that they finish higher. They could be the sleeper that finishes in the top 3. Really, I do think they could possibly finish at the top 3. So you have Sturridge, you have Milner, you have a lot of Firmino, Coutinho, Mignolet. I think is a solid goalie for them. And Klopp has his first full preseason with his team. This is his first full season. He's gonna make the excuses for last year, like I took over the team in the middle of the season, whatever. Now it's gonna be the reckoning. He is going to have to prove how good a manager he is, and along with so many different presences, which I haven't even discussed yet because we haven't made it up there. Mourinho, Conte, Pep Guardiola. You already have a ton of managerial presences at the top of the table. So along with him, he's gonna have to prove himself in the midst of some purebred managerial managers up there at the top. So I'll be interested to see how that happens. I do think 6th sounds about right for them. I could flip them with Chelsea. Put Chelsea in 5th. I think Conte is going to have a good effect on this team. I think they're going to get him situated. A lot of people think he's going to be abrasive, and it's not going to be anything that Hazard or Fabregas or Pedro or any of those guys are going to want to mess with. I think they get in line. And I think he gets that clubhouse, or they can walk. Pretty much, it's going to be either my way or the highway. Pretty much. Diego Costa has been rumored to leave. I think he stays. If he were to leave, I think he would be better than Lukaku. That's just my personal opinion. But I don't know if it's going to be that much of a difference if Costa left and Lukaku came in. I don't know if there would be such a massive difference. I think both of them would be good for them up front. So I think that remains to be seen. So that's why sometimes these Premier League prediction videos are hard to make when you don't know all the facts until we get to the start of the season or the end of the transfer window, then a lot of things could change, obviously. I think Chelsea sounds fifth sounds good. That's a big improvement from last year, which was 10th. So I think that sounds about right. Okay, so now here's my top four. Get down to the nitty gritty. People will probably be upset with me on these picks, but I think I think these are I think I'm confident in these. All right, I'm gonna go fourth. I'm gonna go with Man United. I think Man United finished fourth. A lot of people have picking them to win the league. That's way too fast for Mourinho. That club is still a little bit in flux. Okay, Louis van Gaal had a big effect on that club. This club is really trying to pull itself out of the doldrums of a different type of football. Obviously, Mourinho's going to play a different type of football. Zlatan, he's a different beast. I think maybe he has some success. Obviously, Bournemouth's going to play him right off the bat, which I'm not really looking forward to. But maybe he'll have some success right off the bat. Maybe he'll score a ton of goals right early. I think he'll start laboring. I think he's a big guy. He's older. And the Premier League season's a lot different than League One, where you're in PSG and you dominate the whole season without any problems. Premier League's different. And I think people are going to start to adjust to him. And just like the Euros, he didn't do very well in the Euros. Really wasn't a presence at all in the Euros. I think these guys are going to follow that modicum of that plan. And he is going to have some tough times down the road. Doesn't mean that he's not going to still score, but he's not going to be as a giant success that I think a lot of Man United fans are saying that he's going to be. I think he's going to have some problems. That's why you brought in Paul Pogba. He's going to help maybe offset some of the problems that Zlatan might have going forward. Man United, yeah, maybe you could pick him. Maybe you could place them higher, but they'll be. And I think fourth sounds right for them. Mourinho is not going to do wonders overnight. He's not going to be able to do this in one season. Fourth sounds right to me, and then maybe next season you could possibly pick them to win the whole thing. Fourth sounds right to me right now. I don't care what anybody says. So, Arsenal, in that case, will finish in third. I like Granit Xhaka, Swede. I think along with the pieces that they already have, it's still a very talented club. Okay, yeah, I know they haven't made a whole lot of moves, but you don't know if they're going to. And I think the club that they already have are still very, very good. I still think an Arsenal club right now with Xhaka, with the moves that they've made, is still a better club than Man United. I will tell you that all day, that they're still a better club than Man United. Might not be by much, but I still think they finished third over Man United. Paul Pogba and Ibrahimovic, yes, it adds a whole more. I still think Arsenal with Alexis Sanchez, I just think that club is still talented. Mesut Ozil, Claude Giroux. I mean, that's still a good club. That's still a very good club. That I think you're gonna have still a potent attack up front. Maybe they wanted to bring another striker in, but maybe Wenger didn't want to spend a whole lot of money, and I think that's why he didn't do what he did in the transfer window. I think Arsenal finished third. So this comes down to, yes, you're like, okay, what teams are left now? Yes, I'm gonna make these picks, and I'm gonna stay confident with it. I'm gonna stay very confident with these two picks. I'm gonna go with Man City in second. Yes, I'm picking Man City in second. I don't care what anybody says. I think Guardiola, again, not gonna do everything in one season. I'm gonna be able to turn the whole ship around in one season. This Man City club has a lot of problems. Yes, there's a lot of talent on this club, but a whole new manager, a lot of different personalities being brought together. I think he's gonna have some problems along with like Manchester United with Mourinho. Mourinho's gonna have some problems with those different personalities, getting everybody in flow and coalescing. Yes, you have some of the most talented players in the world. Sometimes that doesn't work. That's why I like clubs like Bournemouth, small clubs. Everybody is on the same wavelength. There's not one guy that's bigger than the other. Everybody is on the same wavelength. We're all in the same boat. We're all going to have the same determination, same mission. Where you have different personalities in these big clubs like Man City and Man United, those things clash, along with very, very big managerial presences like Guardiola, like Mourinho. So I think they have some struggles. They have some problems. They're going to finish second. I honestly believe that. And I think Tottenham Hotspur win next year. Tottenham Hotspur, yes. Not a popular pick. Not a lot of people are going to pick that. But I think with Wanyama now, with Victor Janssen, I don't think the whole Euro layover, everybody's using that as an excuse. Everybody's using that as an excuse. This team was very, very good last year. And if they get off to a better start, if they start better this year, it's going to be a lot better than they had last year. They started off bad. So this year, if they can get off to a better start, and Harry Kane's not going to have a layover, or I mean, he might maybe have another slow start like last year. He had a slow start last year, and they almost won the league. So if he starts off moderately okay, along with Eric Dyer, and then they have Janssen. So if Kane is off to an okay start, Janssen can come in late in games or even start in place of Kane. That probably won't happen. But along with that, I still think with Dele Alli and Eriksson, I mean, this club has just littered with pure talent, and I think this is a club that is going to win. They're going to be maybe you call them a sleeper. They're going to finish top 4. A lot of people have them finishing top 4. Why not first? I keep thinking in my head, everybody's picking Man City. Everybody's picking Man City or Man United. Why? Why is that just like already a given? Because we spent a bunch of money? No, I'm picking Tottenham Hotspur because they have pure talent, a young side with speed and pace. And no, they're not going to have a huge Euro layover. Like, oh wow, the Euros did damage the psyche of young Harry Kane and Dele Alli and Eric Dyer. No, they're going to play just like they did last year. They're going to be successful. Pochettino is going to have that club going, along with Wanyama and Janssen that they added. I love those two pickups. Tottenham Hotspur are going to win the Premier League next year. So disagree with me, comment down below. Please subscribe and be easy on me. Thanks, guys. Good night.